Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be teaching you on how you can create a virtual environment for a particular project. So we are going to be creating this environment using Conda, and also we are going to go ahead to use Python. So in today's video, you are going to know how to use Conda and also how to use Python to create a virtual environment for a particular project. And after that also, I'm going to teach you how you can go ahead to clone a repository and create a virtual environment for that particular project. So let's say you have a project online that you want to test it out. I'm going to show you how you can go ahead to create a virtual environment for that particular project that you want to test out, so you don't affect other libraries or packages that are installed on your system. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to use all of that, and without any further ado, let's get started with the video. Alright guys, welcome back. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead to head over to my file, and here I'm just going to create a new folder. And this folder, I'm just going to name it a random name. So let's just say we want it to name it customer analysis. Right. So for this customer analysis project, we're going to go ahead to install the packages that we need to basically analyze customer data. Right. So the libraries that you're going to use is just a demo project and nothing much. So I'm going to go ahead to open this in my VS Code, and I'm going to type cmd here. After cmd, my command line should open. I'm going to go ahead to type code space dot. Basically, you can go ahead to open your VS Code using whatever type of command that you want to use. But the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead to create a particular file. So this file is always created for every project that you want to do, so that you get to know the libraries and packages that you need to use for that particular project, right? So here it's always named requirements.txt, right? So this particular file is where you are going to add all the libraries and all the packages that you're installing for your project, right? And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead to open my command line. So Control tilde, or you can go ahead to click on terminal and open a new terminal. It's the same thing, right? So basically, first thing that you would have to do is to create a virtual environment, right, for this particular project only. And I made a video on how you can create a virtual environment using your command line, but this video we're going to cover how you can create a virtual environment for a particular project only, right? So the first thing that you want to do is I'm going to use Conda to create this virtual environment, right? So to use Conda, I'm going to go ahead and say Conda, right? So Conda create -p. Now you have to notice this. I'm writing -p because it's specifying that I'm creating a virtual environment in this particular project part only, right? So that's why I'm adding the -p command. So you have to take note of that. And here, what you have to add next is you have to add the name of the particular environment that you want to create, right? By default, it's always named venv, but you can name it anything you want to name it. You can name it customer analysis venv or whatever one you want to use, right? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead to specify my Python version. So Python, and I'm going to say equals to, right? For here, I'm going to put in the Python version I want to install. It can be anything. You have to make sure you know the Python version that you want to install for your project. But this one, I'm going to go ahead to type 3.10, right? Then close the quote. And if you have used Conda before, you would know whenever you want to install a library or a package, it goes ahead to ask you, do you want to install this by default and all of that. So to skip all those commands, I'm going to go ahead to type -yes and click enter. So this is how you create a virtual environment for a particular project. So for example, we are creating a virtual environment in this part, customer analysis, right? This can be any project you are working on, don't forget. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead to add the requirements that I need for this project. And for this project, for the analysis, let's just say we need something like we need pandas, right? We need numpy, and let's say we need sklearn, and also we need matplotlib. So these are the four particular libraries I'm going to install, right? So we'll just wait for this to install, and I'm going to get back to the video once this is installed, finished. Alright guys, so as you can see that our virtual environment has been created, and you can see it's saying for us to activate the virtual environment, we can go ahead to say conda activate, then the part of the file where we install the virtual environment, right? But another way to do that is to go ahead to type conda activate venv / right? So once I click enter, this should activate my environment. But basically, if I click enter, it's not going to work because I'm using bash, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to change this to command line. right? There is a different command to use bash, but I just want to go ahead with command line so you guys can know how it works, right? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead to type conda activate, right, venv slash. So conda activate venv slash and click enter. So once I click this, you can see from base it's going to go ahead to change my virtual environment to this particular part, and you can see that this venv file has been created for us while installing the virtual environment. So you can see now that I'm in my C users HP document project and customer analysis then slash venv, right? So we are no more in the base environment. Base is just the default environment that comes with Anaconda, right? The next thing to do after creating a virtual environment is to go ahead to install the requirements that you need for the project, right? So install that, all you would have to do is to go ahead to type pip install -r, right, then requirements.txt. I'm going to press tab for auto completion here, and you can see after that we'll go ahead to click enter. So these are the basic steps that you need to do when you are starting a new project. So after running pip install -r requirement.txt, it's going to go ahead to install all the packages that you specified here in the requirement.txt. And basically, once you have installed that, you can now go ahead to create a new project, a new file rather. So you can say, I can name this maybe customer underscore analysis .ipynb, right? So you can go ahead to create this new file, but I'm going to wait to make this install finish first. Alright guys, so as you can see that I've successfully installed the libraries. One more library that you need to install is ipykernel. So I'm going to go ahead to run pip install ipykernel. So the reason why we're installing this is because when we want to select our kernel here, we are going to be able to see this particular environment that we created, right? So we wait for this to install finish, and we'll go ahead to import the libraries that we installed. Alright guys, so as you can see that my ipykernel has been installed successfully. Now I can go ahead to select this from my kernel here, right? You can see Python environment, click on it and click on venv/python.exe, right? So this is what we're going to be using because this is the part where we installed it in, and you can see I've also installed some other environment that I use for my project. So I'm going to go ahead to click on this, and you can see from here I can go ahead to import now numpy as np. I can go ahead to say import pandas as pd, and I can also go ahead to import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, right? And also I can import, I think that's just the 3 package that we need for analysis, right? And if I go ahead to run this cell, you will see that it would run successfully. Let's just wait for it to run. So you can see connecting to kernel venv, right? So that was why we installed that kernel the other time, so that VS Code can identify that we've installed this virtual environment in this particular project part, right? So basically you can see it's running successfully, no error, right? So the next thing I want to do now is to teach you how you can also create virtual environments using Python. So for this particular one, if you have Anaconda installed, I mean, it should work fine for you, right? So the next one is you would have to have Python also installed, and let's go ahead to see how we can use Python to create a virtual environment. Alright guys, so I'm back in this project here, and in this project also I'm going to go ahead to create a new folder, and this folder I'm going to name it Python. So Python underscore dash customer dash analysis, right? So basically I'm just giving it a random name. This can be any project that you're working on. So cmd and code space dot, right? So to go ahead to open my VS Code, and I'm just going to enlarge this, and same thing, we'll create a new one, right? So we're going to name it, so I'm going to just say yes here. So for this project I'm going to go ahead to name it, so the first thing we'd have to do is to create a requirement.txt. So requirements dot txt. So, alright guys, so yeah, I'm going to install just pandas, right? And I'm also going to install numpy. So just these 2 packages so that we don't waste much of our time. And I'm going to go ahead to hit Ctrl tilde to open my terminal. Alright guys, so here I'm also going to go ahead to select my command prompt, right? So my command prompt, very important. So the command that you have to run when you want to install a virtual environment using Python is you'd have to write python -m venv and the name of the virtual environment that you want to install. So here I can just say customer underscore analysis underscore env, or just say venv. I'll click enter, right? So you can see basically once I click enter, it's going to go ahead to create a new folder here, customer underscore anal underscore venv. That's the virtual environment that we're creating. And you can see here, we noticed a new environment has been created. Do you want to select it for the workspace folder? And I'll just say yes. All right. So you might not get this particular prompt. It depends on how you basically set the environment up. So you can see once we create a new virtual environment, you can see all this has been created. And one thing I want you to pay attention to is the scripts, right? So the scripts here, you can see we have customer analysis venv, we have script, and we have activate here, right? And this is what you would have to do when you want to activate this particular Python environment that was created, right? So to activate this, what you have to do is to have to type customer, so customer analysis slash underscore venv, right, slash scripts, right, and slash activate, right? So this, once you run this, it's going to go ahead to activate the virtual environment. As you can see, we have this here, right? And basically when you want to do your install now, you can go ahead to say pip install -r requirements .txt, and it's going to go ahead to install these two particular libraries that we have here, pandas and numpy, in this virtual environment customer underscore anal underscore venv, right? So you can see using Python is pretty fast and straightforward. So now once this is installed, finished, and you want to create any particular app, so let's just say we want to create app.py, you can go ahead to import numpy py as np, and you can go ahead to also import, what's it called, you can go ahead to import pandas as pd, right? So basically once this is installed, finished, you can go ahead to use these libraries for your project. All right guys, so as you can see, our libraries has been installed successfully, and you can see mine is showing run python.exe-m pip install upgrade pip, right? So but I don't want to upgrade it now. So for example, if you have a particular file, right, let's say app.py, and you want to go ahead to run your project, so I'm going to import numpy as np, and I'm also going to go ahead to import pandas as pd. So now if I say a random underscore number will be equals to, I can go ahead to say np dot random dot randint, right? So if I go ahead to say print my random number, and I go ahead to run this particular one now, so I can run this here, or I can just go ahead to come here and just say python app.py. So the random number it brought out is 89, 15, 25, and all of this, right? So you can see that it's working fine now, right? So now you know how to create a virtual environment using Conda for a particular project, and also you can use Python to also create a virtual environment for a particular project, right? So the last thing that we're going to be looking at is how you can go ahead to install a particular package or library for the project that you want to test out, right? So let's say you saw a project on GitHub and you want to go ahead to test it out, right? So we're going to do that now. So without any further ado, let's get started. So for this project, I'm going to go ahead to open a new Windows. So for the project that we're going to be testing, I'm just going to go ahead to go to my GitHub. I'm going to use a project I've done before, right? So let's just pick a random project from my repository, and that will be something that we just worked on of recent. Let me say, let's use this customer churn classifications, for example. And for this customer churn classification. If the person is kind enough, the person is going to tell you what to do. All right, and I also told you what you have to do to run this repository, right? So you can see clone the repository, right? Navigate to the project directory, and also installed required dependencies. And I'm recommending you to create your virtual environment and activate it, then run the command below, right? So basically that's what we are going to do here. To clone this particular project, I'm going to go ahead to come here and click on copy, right? So I'm going to copy this particular part, right? And what I will do is I will go back to my VS Code, right? And basically I'm going to go back to my project. So cd dot go back to my project, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to say git clone, and I'm going to paste the URL here, right? So basically it's going to go ahead to clone everything that is in that particular repo. So you can see it's done, and what I'll do now is I'll just say dir to just see the particular one I have, particular folder I have in this particular project. And you can see I now have my customer churn classification here. Now I can go ahead to say cd, then customer churn classification, enter. So once I click enter, I can go ahead to open this using VS Code. So code dot. All right, so you can see it opens here. And what you do when you want to test out a new project is to go ahead to open a new terminal. So you can see my requirement.txt here. We have these ones, right? So you have to install TensorFlow, this NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and all of this, right? So to install this for your own, you can see from the documentations that we have here, you can see first we've cloned this already, right? We've cloned this, we've done this already. So we've navigated to the particular folder or directory that we cloned, and what we'd have to do now is to run pip install -r requirement.txt. But before we run this, we would have to create our own virtual environment, right? So to create our own virtual environment, what we would run is I'm going to go ahead to select my command line here, and for this one, what we would have to do is we would have to create a new virtual environment. So I'm going to be using Conda for this one, and to create a virtual environment using Conda, you remember the command that we'd have to run, right? So for this one, we would have to run a command that says, so close this, so here I'm just going to type Conda, right, Conda create, right? So create -p, don't forget, specify that we're creating the virtual environment in this particular part only, right? So Conda create -p, sync is loading, so let's just wait for it to load. All right, so now to create a virtual environment for this project, you can see what would have to run is to use Conda, right? So for this one, I'm going to be using Conda to create my virtual environment, and to create that, you already know the command to run. So you can see I'm going to go ahead to type Conda create -p, right? Create the particular environment for this particular part only, right? So -p, and name it anyone you want to name it. So for here, I'm going to name it venv. So create -p venv, right? And I'm going to specify the Python version. So Python, you can use anyone you want to use, right? I'm going to use 3.11, 3.10 as we used in the project before, and I'm going to type -yes, all right? So basically, after creating a virtual environment, you can see once we create it, you will see that once we create the virtual environment, it's going to go ahead to create a new folder here and name it venv, right? So after we've done that, we're now going to go ahead to import, or to install rather, to install all these requirement.txt that was specified for the project. And this is the step that you'd have to always take whenever you're creating, you can see venv, and it's showing a very light gray here because there is a .git ignore file here, which is ignoring all the virtual environments in case we want to push. So that's why it's showing gray. And this is basically the step that you'd have to do whenever you are trying to test out a new project that you saw on GitHub, right? So you'd have to create a virtual environment by yourself, and you'd also have to go ahead to install all the libraries that were specified in the requirement.txt, right? So I'm going to go ahead to pause the video for now and come back to the video once this particular virtual environment has been created. All right, so as you can see that it has been created successfully, and to activate this environment that we created now, we're going to go ahead to run conda activate, right, venv, then slash at the front, right? Don't forget to always add this. If you don't add this, you might have an error. All right, guys, so as you can see that my virtual environment has been selected. You can see users, documents, projects, customer churn classification, then venv, right? So as you can see here that we've already selected it, what you would have to do is you would have to go ahead to type pip install. Right, so basically what was specified in this particular place here, if the person is kind enough, it's going to go ahead to tell you, but if not, you just have to type pip install -r requirement.txt, and that's what we're going to do here, right? So I'm going to just paste this here. So pip install -r requirement.txt, and I'm going to click enter, right? So but basically if I click enter now, it's going to take time to download TensorFlow, NumPy, and all of that, right? And I don't want to waste much of my time downloading it and also taking you guys time. But I hope you understand what you have to do when you want to create a virtual environment for a particular project, or when you want to go ahead to create a virtual environment for a project that you are cloning online, right? So if you found this video useful, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and also tell me type of videos that you want me to make. And if you have any other questions, also make sure you reach out to me in any of my social media handles that are attached to my profile, or you can also drop a comment here. I'm going to answer you. And with that being said, that will be the end of this video, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.